What if one careless sentence is the reason you're not getting that job offer? You could have the right qualifications, answer every technical question correctly, and still lose the opportunity because you discussed something the interviewer did not need to hear. And one of the 5 topics in this video is commonly mentioned by candidates who actually believe they're simply being honest. Top of the morning, everyone. My name is Tshidi and I'm back with another video. Today I'm breaking down 5 things you should never ever talk about in job interviews in 2026 and beyond. This matters now because employers are not only assessing your experience, they're also assessing your judgment, your professionalism, and ability to actually communicate under a lot of pressure. Let's start with a mistake that can make you appear difficult, even when your concerns are actually completely valid. Speaking badly about your former employer. Imagine the interviewer asks you, why are you leaving your current position? And then you go and respond and say, my manager was terrible. Nobody communicates properly and the whole organization is just toxic. It was just such a disaster. It could actually be true. Your manager might actually be terrible. Or they might even communicate exclusively through confusion, those last-minute calendar invitations. But the interview is not the place to actually conduct that performance review, guys. When you criticize a previous employer, the interviewer may actually wonder what you will say about that organization in future when you leave also. They also question whether you can actually take responsibility when things go wrong. So then what do you say? Instead of saying, my manager never supported me, you can actually say, you know what? The truth is I'm looking for an environment with a bit of a clearer communication and stronger collaboration where there's also more opportunities to actually take a bit of ownership. And I feel like your organization will give me that opportunity. Instead of saying the organization was completely disorganized, you can then twist that and change it and say, I've realized I perform best in an organization where clear priorities and well-defined processes are actually there. And in some cases, even if it's actually a bit vague, I'd love to at least understand the priorities so that I can define my processes to be able to deliver. The interview should also be about where you're going, not detailed investigation into everybody else who has disappointed you in the past. And while negative comments can actually damage your image, the next topic can also damage your trust immediately. Confidential information. Never reveal any confidential information from a current or previous employer. That also includes things like customer details, private financial figures, internal disputes, unreleased products, or even sensitive business plans, especially because you think that it will put you in the right light. Candidates sometimes share this information because they actually want to prove that they were more important than that previous company. They might say something like, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but the company is about to lose one of the biggest clients. Now, the moment you actually say, I probably shouldn't tell you this, that is normally the signal for you to stop saying what you're about to say. The interviewer may be interested in the information, but they're also asking themselves, if this person is sharing their employer's secrets with me right now, what would they eventually share about us even when they're still employed, not even when they're leaving our company? You can describe your impact without actually exposing confidential information. So instead of naming a client or sharing private revenue figures, say something like, I managed one of the organization's largest accounts and I helped them actually increase revenue within that portfolio. Focus on the challenge, what you did, and the results of that particular challenge. The next topic is actually more subtle and it can also introduce unnecessary bias in that conversation. Politics, religion, and any divisive opinions. A job interview is not a political debate or even a religious discussion or the comments section underneath a very controversial video. Unless the subject is directly relevant to the position, avoid turning the interview into the conversation about political parties, politics, religion, divisive social issues, even the ones that we're always dealing with on a daily basis. This does not mean you're actually hiding your identity. It means understanding the purpose of the interview is number 1 in that particular discussion. A controversial personal opinion can actually distract from all 3. Even when the interviewer actually appears to agree with you, the conversation can become very uncomfortable very quickly. Now, keep your answers focused on your professional values. One of the examples that you can also have is, I enjoy working in a diverse team and I'm very comfortable collaborating with people who have different perspectives. Now that helps because a lot of companies actually work on a global environment. It also communicates maturity without starting any argument. And if the interviewer asks something that actually feels a bit too personal, redirect like beautifully and politely. Well, my personal commitments would never actually prevent me from meeting the requirements of the role. Could you tell me a bit more about the team culture or some of the challenges that you already have? You're not there to win a debate because guess what? In a job interview, you will never win that debate anyway. You are there to demonstrate that you can actually solve organizational problems. And the next topic that can actually make the employer question whether you actually genuinely want the role or not is sounding too desperate. Never tell the employer that you actually will accept anything because you desperately need a bit of money. You may genuinely actually be under financial pressure. And there's no shame in that. And that's one thing that I want everybody to understand. But the employer needs to understand why you're actually suitable for the job, not why you need an income. When you actually say something like, I'll take anything, I just need a job. Unfortunately, you may think that you're actually sounding flexible, but the truth is the interviewer may hear something completely different. This person is not interested in this position and will leave as soon as something better appears. That's what they hear when you actually say you'll take just about anything. Desperation can also weaken your position when you're discussing salary. Instead of saying, I need more money because my bills have increased, say something like, based on the responsibilities of the role and my experience, I've actually done some research and my salary expectations are between X and Y. The mistake is basing your salary expectations on your personal expenses. That's one of the worst things you can ever do. Your rent does not determine the market value of that particular role. Your skills, your experience, and the responsibilities actually determine the market value of the role. Instead of communicating desperation, try and communicate intentional interest. This role appeals to me because it actually combines my experience in customer service with the opportunity to actually take a bit more responsibilities. That brings me to the number one topic that I actually spoke about, which candidates often reveal because they actually want to appear very authentic. Unrelated personal problems. Avoid sharing any personal details or personal problems that are actually unrelated to the ability for you to actually perform the job, because they could actually work in either way. One, this might include relation problems, family conflict, disputes with neighbors, legal drama, or any detailed medical information that actually the interviewer did not request from you. An interviewer may ask you, how's your week been so far? That is not an invitation to actually provide an entire docuseries about how miserable and how horrible your weekend was and how bad things are going. There's a difference between personable and oversharing. Being personable means showing your communication style, personality, and values. Oversharing means giving the interviewer information they do not even need to know about or not even know how to even respond in that scenario. Keep the answer focused on your professional suitability. And of course, discussing reasonable workplace adjustment is also different. You can explain what support you need without actually giving your medical history. Does this help the interviewer understand your skills, your motivation, or suitability for the role? If the answer is no, please leave it out. The question that people may then ask themselves is, what should you speak about instead then? A strong interview answer should focus on four main things: the challenge that you faced in your current job or your previous jobs, the action that you actually took in that particular challenge, the results that you then achieved, and what you've actually learned. If you can nail these four things, you can nail any interview that you actually got. For example, in my previous role, my team was actually missing the customer response targets. I reviewed the workflow and identified 2 unnecessary approval stages and proposed a much more simpler process. This reduced the response time by 30% and improved the customer experience. And also, guys, by the way, that answer is actually the STAR methodology way of answering things. So the 5 things that you should never ever speak about in a job interview is: 1, speaking badly about your previous employer. Number 2, revealing confidential information. Then number 3, introducing politics, religion, or any divisive topics that you think are interesting because you watched the news on the way to that job interview. And then number 4 is leading with desperation or personal financial problems. And then lastly, oversharing personal issues that should never be discussed. What is the most uncomfortable question you've actually ever been asked in a job interview? Please drop it in the comments, but remember to protect the names of the people or organizations that are involved in that particular discussion. If you found these tips helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content designed to help you navigate your career path with ease and confidence. Until we meet again in the next video, peace.